If you have a mobile app and you already integrated some AI features to provide some features to your users, this video is exactly for you, because today I'm going to show you how you can start to think about local LLMs for your mobile app and start to saving in terms of how many tokens your users will burn on the cloud APIs, and maybe start to integrate some local LLMs in order to process some data locally. And as well, you can get a lot of benefits like privacy-focused features that you wasn't able to get with the cloud-based solutions. My name is Dmytro. I'm working professionally as an Android software engineer for the last decade, and now I'm helping businesses who has mobile product with features that leverage cloud-based AI solutions to understand them, how they can start to look into the local LLMs, how they can start to saving on the cost difference between local-based AIs and cloud-based APIs, and as well some kind of privacy-focused and security-focused benefits that they can get by starting using local LLMs where it wasn't not possible before. Today I'm going to show you 3 different scenarios as a reference, so you can start to think about your own application and how you can start to integrate local LLMs into your specific domain. And I will show you also a comparison between cloud-based solution and local-based solution. And yeah, not all of my cases was successful, so this is something that you also need to see, that there is still some kind of limitations. As for the cloud-based solution, the same for the local LLMs, but you will have way more clear picture and you will understand, can you actually start to integrate local LLMs into your Android or iOS application in order to improve your user experience and your wallet. The first example that I would like to start with is voice memo to clean text. The way how it works is basically we are going to use 2 models. First one would be completely local, and the another one would be, of course, like the cloud-based Gemini 2.4. And the idea behind it, the current are built in a way so we will be able to see the exact amount of tokens that was used per models and calculate spendings in this particular example. So let me show the first demo. So I have a prepared text with a lot of words, and some words are duplicated, and that's done in purpose. So the idea is that we are able to clean up the text. Okay, so I wanted to follow up with Sarah about the Q3 report. I think we said like Friday, but actually, let's put it next to Monday because the finance numbers aren't ready yet. Also, we probably should loop in Marcus because he had some concerns about the revenue breakdowns last time. As we can see, like cloud-based models took like around 5 seconds to handle the request, and around 38 seconds for the Gemma for local to do the same scene. And comparing the results, you can see already on the screen like how each model performed. Worth to mention that they both use absolutely the same prompt, so it's just the way how the model itself handles the prompt, but the instructions for each models are the same. The second example is pretty interesting because in this case we are going to use the image for model to understand the content on it. And in this particular example, we will use the photo of the receipt from the restaurant. And we would ask the model to actually fetch the data like prices, what kind of item it was, how much of each specific item was, the amount in total, and etc. So basically, as you might know, working with images is pretty heavy in terms of the amount of tokens that can be used on the cloud base. So if you will be able to leverage all of these tasks into the local LLMs, it potentially can save a lot of tokens, in the same way actually a lot of the money for your business. So let me pick up the image that I have and press done. Yeah, so we failed. Gemini today fails with 503. Another actually great example when you can't fully always rely on the cloud models, because if they're not available, they're not available. With the devices, of course, we have completely another limitation, which is the performance, but at least here we can try to make some workarounds to be able to parse the data by chunks or something like that. Actually, I'm going to cover in the next videos if you're interested, so please subscribe. As we can see, the cloud-based model, it actually took around 5 seconds to process. We're still using local LLM in order to be able to process this data. Yeah, so it took like 70 seconds for the on-device model to parse. We can see that it also took items that we need. So for example, it has proper total amount of items. I see that some items are missing, so I will show you on the screen. Again, this is extremely tough example, and it shows that for image processing for such things local LLMs probably still not there. If business model of your application doesn't actually rely to being able to get some kind of text and extremely precise details from image, you can start to think already. Maybe you can start to use local Gemma for capabilities to being able to understand the image itself. Another extremely good use case that I would like to show you is when we can leverage actually local LLMs in pair with cloud solutions, and so use a hybrid system in order to properly parse user details. And this is not so from the cost optimization purpose, but mostly from the privacy focus stuff. So as you can see here, what we have is actually drafted email that I have, and we include some personal details, last name, emails, phone numbers, and some other finance information that we don't really want to send to the cloud. Extremely private stuff, and if you're working under the GDPR, it's something that would be extremely important for you. When I press run pipeline, I'm using local LLM with a specific prompt. So what it does is actually trying to extract all sensitive details from the letter itself, but keep the main text in original. It saves the data in a specific pair and value format. As you can see 1B below, so it's already understood what kind of details we have. It's already covered everything under the specific placeholders. Then we use more powerful cloud-based LLM to send the draft there and asking an additional prompting to say that, this is like kind of a mail and we need to improve this to fix some grammar, maybe restructure to make it more professional. It's up to you. You can actually tune and tweak these prompts whatever you want. It's completely under your control. And later back we received, actually, as you can see under 2, we received a polished placeholder from our cloud model, but because it doesn't really know anything sensitive, it actually also returns for us these details that we need to pre-populate later. And so as you can see above, in the end we're receiving a mail that was handled by a powerful and smart LLM on the cloud, but none of the sensitive data ever left his device. And I think this is clear demonstration how we can now start thinking a bit differently in terms how we can not only use cloud-based models, but also trying to apply some hybrid systems in order to make some things that was impossible before doing on the device. And remember, this is Google Pixel 8 mid-range device, and we don't have enough memory, we don't have enough horsepower to being able to process and work with large models. But this is something that we should keep in mind. For all of these different 3 use cases, I'm using different type of local models. For example, 2 billion parameters models is enough to being able to work with this emails draft, and the first example where I showed to you voice to text, because we don't really need too much critical thinking for this case. But for example, when we need to handle the image, I found that 2 billion parameters usually not reliable, so sometimes it can miss some details. But for example, 4 billion parameters, which 2 times slower on this device, works with images perfectly fine. So yeah, as you can see, there is certainly some use cases that we can already start using today in order to improve your user experience. However, there are still some limitations, especially in order to try to understand the images. This is still something that local LLMs, especially such small weight as on the device, struggles to proceed properly. I think that we are moving into the direction that it will be accessible in 6 to 12 months. If you have some kind of features that already rely on cloud-based solution, I would strongly suggest to you start to looking into the local LLMs. I don't have the numbers yet. I still need to do some calculations, but I'm recording this before. But I will show you on the screen how much potentially you can save in terms of the cost of usage per token. I actually did some experiments before, and I already know that the numbers might be extremely high, especially for big and scaled applications. So this is definitely something that you can start to look in today in order to save some costs on the cloud usage for your users. It was extremely interesting for me to play with all this stuff. If you would like to see more or something related to the local LLMs here, please leave a comment, subscribe, because I'm actually going to post several extremely interesting videos about how you can leverage it more, and some tricks that I'm already using today in order to be able to process larger amount of data that's currently available because of the small context window and the low amount of memory available on the devices. This is some kinds of tricks that I don't see that anyone actually using, but here we are, and thank you for watching. I wish you good luck for today and for the future.